Greetings, this is Ty Brown with Athletic Director U. We are here at the 2022 Women Leaders in College Sports Conference. I am joined by Kim Damron. Kim is you just got a promotion, Kim. Initially you were CEO of Paciolan.
Yes, for a while. I've been at Paciolan for 17 years.
Right.
And Cole Gahagan, our president and CEO of Learfield, announced a restructuring last week. And now I run digital and technology, which means Paciolan, all of our digital marketing initiatives under Jeff Rubin from Sidearm. Jeff has an unbelievable digital marketing background.
Right.
And obviously Sidearm encompasses under technology and ANC as well.
That's interesting. So it's a Learfield President for Digital and Technology.
Yes.
Bringing it all together.
Yes, which is great. And it's something we need to be doing, really as an example, like with Paciolan and Sidearm. Sidearm is the front end for most of, the athletic official sites, and we're the back end. So we need to, work closer together from a technology perspective.
Yeah, which is interesting. Your background, which is very, very rich with technology, right? Competitors with Paciolan and Learfield, competitors with Amazon, and even in the entertainment industry briefly. Talk a little bit about that path and gathering skills from leaders that you have worked with, whether they be skills you want to use or don't want to use, that now in terms of being the CEO of Paciolan, and now you're in this president digital and technology for Learfield, now you're in this position. What have you gathered from working in, because tech is a very unique industry.
Yeah, it is. And I never thought I'd be, running a software technology company. But when you talk about working with people that you don't want to be, I mean, I think, I started my career at Paramount Studios right out of school. And that is a cutthroat, crazy entertainment industry. And I think that taught me how to work with all different types of people and all different types of leaders. And then I moved into the technology space where I was at a startup called Buy.com, which is a competitor of Amazon, as you mentioned. And I learned all about the internet, right? The internet was just, taking off, and we were really kind of creating it. So that was just an unbelievable wild ride. And then I wanted to stay in the internet space and ended up at tickets.com, working for Ron Bension, who is a wonderful, wonderful mentor. And then I joined Paciolan 17 years ago under Dave Butler, who was the previous CEO, who's one of the most wonderful human beings, and I learned a ton from him from a leadership perspective.
As you get to a point in your career where now you're leading people, right? Did you study technology, and were you hands-on when you first left school, or what was?
Absolutely not. I didn't study technology, and I've learned it along the way. And one of the things you get to do as a leader is we've hired really good people. So we have Keith White, who's our Chief Technology and Product Officer. He was actually EVP of Engineering at Ticketmaster, and he had a stint at Tickets.com as well. So he's taught me a lot, as well as our entire team. And we've really evolved, right? I mean, when Paciolan started, they weren't selling tickets online, right? Then they moved online, and now it's mobile. So it's really evolved over the last, especially through the pandemic. And we've seen technology accelerate a ton. But I've learned a lot as I've gone on.
Yeah. It's interesting. When somebody told me about your promotion, my first question was, where do you get promoted to from CEO? So now you find yourself in this role where at Learfield, it was a media rights company, and now it's a technology company. It's trying to be a big thing, working on it and trying to be successful at it. There are always hiccups. But coming into this president role, tell me a little bit about that. Does that for the lack of a better word, expand your reach and influence over more people to help the organization be successful?
Yeah, and I think it does, because I was just, running PAC and Amplify, which is our outbound ticket solutions and seating business. And now under that umbrella is now Sidearm, which is fantastic because Jeff and I work so closely together. And then all of digital marketing, right? We had different groups in the organization doing digital marketing. So it does expand my reach. And I think one of the reasons why, Cole Gahagan kind of made these moves is he believes in diverse leadership. And, I've known Cole for many years, and he's been a great friend and partner. And I think he really sees what we've done at PAC and wants to help expand that kind of culture across Learfield as well.
There's an aspect of learning the rest of the company,
Mm-hmm.
right? Tell me about how you are doing that.
I've had great partners like Mike Hamilton, who has taught me a ton about the multimedia rights side and what he's done. And he has a really unique view because he sat in the AD chair. So I try to suck up as much as I can when I listen to people.
Yeah.
And we have great folks at Learfield who've been there for many years and have helped create the industry. I sat with Sarah Davis last night, who runs our UPG group, and was fantastic, and she's helped me learn a ton about the business as well. So it's, and it's always evolving, right? College athletics has changed more in the last 2-3 years than it had from the previous 10 years. So that's the kind of fun thing is if you were an expert 10 years ago, you're not an expert today because NIL's new, the transfer portal's new, all these things are happening collective. So I learn every day, as I'm sure we all do, right?
Yeah, if you're not staying abreast.
Yes.
Real quick,
Yes.
especially in college sports.
Exactly.
There was a point in your career where people identified you as a leader now or a leader in the future. At that point, I don't know where you were in terms of your own self-knowledge of yourself, but at some point you realized that, I might be able to do this leadership thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then you go on this path to try to understand what it actually means to be a leader, in terms of building a culture or in terms of leading myself, leading others, in terms of finding the right people and making sure those people understand what their role is and how to be evaluated at their role. Talk about that moment where those things align. Somebody identified you as a potential leader, and you also realize that you have that capacity to be a great leader too.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that I've ever really thought about when I realized it. It was probably the gentleman that I was working with at Buy.com. His name was John Hare. Brilliant guy who was really helping create the strategy of Buy.com. He said to me one day, "You have what it takes to be a CEO one day." And I remember thinking, what is this guy talking about, right? And he said, you really do. Here's some things you need to focus on. And I think that's the first time it probably popped in my head, but I didn't really think it was real. And then I took on more responsibility there and then in my next role. And Dave Butler, who was a previous CEO, really said, I'm going to retire in X amount of time. We really need to work on the things that you want to work on but you can run this business if you want to run the business. And, it was really scary for me. They didn't, I wasn't involved in women's leaders at that time. I didn't go to conferences and see a lot of women in CEO roles. And, I was also trying to balance, a family. But Dave was great. And I think we really focused on having work-life balance. And, one of my passions now is really creating an environment that women can have a life, whether it's a partner, a dog, kids, and be successful, because it is really difficult. And you do have demands that not every man has in the role.
It's interesting you bring that up. I was listening to a podcast, HBR Ideacast recently, and someone had done some research that said if you provide vouchers for childcare or elder care, or you provide some type of in-house childcare, over time you will see more women in management roles within that company.
100%, because especially if it's in-home, right? The challenge is daycare and childcare is very expensive, and it's very expensive if you want to bring someone in your home, and you're dealing with, I got to go to the office, I got to do this. And if you actually, go to daycare outside of the house, you got to get the baby ready. You have to do all these things. All of that is a lot of work. Plus, you probably didn't sleep the night before. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges is getting the right childcare for babies and kids, right? My kids they're not driving. My baby is 13 and, he's still a full-time job as well. So it is challenging, and I do think it is a problem that we have here because we don't have a great system for childcare.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting, that the research was, I think I misspoke, if the company that these women work for, if they provided,
yes.
then more women in
Oh,
that company,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. And typically, we had that at Paramount Studios. We had on-the-lot daycare. The list was like 3 years long, right? Because where could you be so lucky to go to work and actually bring your
Right.
child to, and then go at lunch and check on him. So, and it's hard. I was just talking to a colleague outside, and she was saying, you still have that, she had just had a baby recently, and she was saying you still have that like hormonal, like I can't leave my child yet, and I was like, my baby's 13 and I still have it, right? So it doesn't go away, and it's a challenge that you have to learn how to work and be successful, but also be successful in the home as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting balance.
Yeah, it is. It 100% is. It's the hardest thing about being a working mom is balancing that for sure.
You seem to have evolved into doing it, being successful in your career, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't want
it's
to say figure it out, 'cause
no,
it's
and I haven't, right? Every day it's different, and every day it's a new challenge. And I tell people you can't make it to everything, but I make it to the important things, right? I was going to fly out early on Saturday here, but my son had a football game, and I wanted to make sure I made it to the football game. So I took, I got up at 4:30 and took the first flight out Sunday morning. You do those things, we go cross country in a night, right? So you are able to kind of figure out how to make it work, but it's always a challenge, I'm lucky I have a very supportive husband at home who is a partner and, definitely does his share, and I think that's very important as well.
Thinking back to leadership and running a business, especially in a tech business, there's this aspect of you create a product or service, and you do that service at a high level, and you get to a point to where, is it time to innovate again?
Yeah.
Or do we keep doing this at a high level?
Yeah.
Or, do we level out? Talk to me about that in terms of the leadership roles you've been in these companies, to where that you can always be innovating, but then are you taking away from doing what you do well, right? So talk about that balance.
It is a tough balance, and we've been talking a lot about this right now with the mobile acceleration. I talk a lot about this, but pre-pandemic, one client went mobile first, right? We have over 140 partners now going mobile first. So we've never seen that kind of acceleration in technology. So what comes with that is people want more and more and more. And what's the balance of continuing to innovate, but also, being able to do what you do well, exactly what you said. So it's an ongoing issue all the time, especially because, our client partner team, our sales team, they come back and we're like, we need to do this, we need to do it now. And, our product people are saying, wait, let's work on stability. Let's work on, we have a ton of obviously traffic now to PAC, which we didn't have pre-pandemic. We had it at a level, but not at the level we see today. So it's a constant balance. We haven't figured it out, but we try to provide a balance of both, of innovation as well as, making the product as good as it can be.
How do you, it's like marketing versus engineering.
Yeah.
Right? How do you balance the product development and the sales, and they have products that are like, hey, we're not ready right.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So it's interesting. It could get heated, which I think is great, because I think people are passionate about what our customers want. So people will come back from a client visit and say, we need to do this, we need to do it today. And then the product people are saying, we can't do it. Here's the timeline. So we have business alignment meetings with the product team where we prioritize what's important, what has to get done for, football 22, what has to get done for basketball 22, and then what could be on the roadmap for football 23, et cetera. So, but it's always a push and pull, because I would say, the teams that work with the clients always want more. Yeah. Always. Yes, right? And they would innovate every day, and, we couldn't do it fast enough. So it's a constant tug of war, but, I think we manage it pretty well, but, I think it's good too, because it keeps everybody honest, right? And you never learn more than you do when you go talk to a partner, because they're experiencing it day in and day out, and it's important for us to hear that, to know what to put into the product.
I'll ask a couple questions here and then we'll wrap. The first one is, you mentioned post-pandemic business is crazy. And when you talk about technology, when you get a lot of business immediately in technology, it can affect the way the technology runs. So I wonder about how you handle issues, especially with the tech company, in terms of telling your clients and customers, we're working on that, and by next week or by next year, and then also sales is probably aggressive, like, hey, These
Yeah.
guys need to, you know what I mean, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So tell me about that aspect.
So, I think we have an annual conference every year that we kind of release the next latest features, and then we send out really just client communication in terms of what newer features are coming out for when, and we try to time them around like football, basketball, and make them applicable. We also like to test things, before football, because football is our highest demand time frame. So we kind of plan it around the seasons, as well as our, we have Broadway clients. We also have arena clients, so planning around their big concerts, et cetera.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
That's this final question here. When you talk about leadership, you talk about culture. You talk about leading two different groups who want the best for the company, but the way their definition of best is different.
Yeah.
Is there one or two things, and I know this is probably impossible to answer, but is there one or two things that somebody who is in a leadership role could do to try to manage all of that, manage the relationships, manage the different power struggles, manage customer satisfaction, manage innovation? Because in any industry, you're probably dealing with all those same things.
Yeah. No, and I think that because there's always in whatever, if it's your customers' needs, your client-facing team's needs, the product needs, I think the best thing is communication and collaboration, right? We were talking last night, we had a group of LEARFIELD team here, and I was saying the number one thing you can focus on is communication, right? Because if we continue to communicate to our clients what we're doing, what we can't do, if we communicate to the product team why we need this, if they communicate why we don't need, we can't do this right now, I think that helps everybody get along and everybody understand, and really understanding why we can't do something immediately for either the client or the client-facing team as well. So I think it's, communication is key, and making sure we're collaborative in our approach and everybody understands why we can't do something or why we are doing something.
For internal and external.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
What's happening. So.
Absolutely.
Well, Kim, this has been an excellent conversation, and I really appreciate you joining us here on Athletic Director U.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. That was Kim Damron. Kim is now the LEARFIELD President of Digital and Technology. I got that right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Excellent. And of course, I am Ty Brown with Athletic Director U. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today.